Good morning, afternoon, whatever time it is, sixth grade. It's good to see you guys. Hopefully you've been keeping up with your studies. Get that quiz done today. That's online. And if you're having any trouble with it, just send me a message and I'll send you a paper copy, okay? I wanted to go over a couple of things with you about your senses. So you've learned about your senses all along. You've learned that you've got 5 of them, right? And I'm sure you could tell me what they were. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are they? Say them out loud. Okay? Sight, sense, smell, taste, and touch. So we're going to go over those real quick because those are a real big part of your nervous system, okay? They do a lot of communicating, and we receive messages from our sense organs that go to our brain telling us about the world around us that we live in. And so we're able to interpret our world and interpret the things that are going on in our world based off of those 5 senses. So we are going to start today with the sense of hearing. I have in the notes on page 59, not on page 59, on RenWeb in your PowerPoint, there's lots of videos. I'm also going to include a couple extras on the resources section in RenWeb. So if you want to check those out, there's one about hearing and there's one about your sense of smell. So it just kind of goes into a little bit more detail if you're interested in that. It's kind of interesting, I think. But again, you may not. So, but it's there for you if you want it. All right, we're going to start with the sense of hearing. Okay, you have in your textbook, you've got a picture of an ear. It shows you all the different parts. It looks kind of like this. Okay, this may be backwards for you, but that's your ear. Okay, there's a couple main parts you have to know. There's an inner ear, an outer ear, and a middle ear. Okay, the outer ear is this part right here, the part you can see. Okay, it's the part that essentially collects the sound waves. So when sound travels, it travels as a wave. Okay, and so as the different noises hit your ear, they travel into your ear through what we call your ear canal until they hit this eardrum. Okay, that's where your eardrum is. And the eardrum is an important part. It's kind of like, think of literally like a drum. Okay, so like the top of a drum, if you hit it, right, it makes those different sounds. So it vibrates and it sends those vibrates in towards the 3 inner ear bones. Now you have 3 really, really tiny bones right on the inside of your ear over here. Okay, they're called the anvil, the stirrup, and the hammer. And they collect the sound and they transfer those vibrations to your cochlea. Your cochlea is this little blue snail looking thing over here, okay? Your cochlea changes the vibrations into nerve impulses. So once the cochlea gets them, then it can send those responses to your auditory nerve, and the auditory nerve will then connect it to your brain, and your brain can then decipher, what is it that I'm hearing? And the video that I added under resources kind of goes into the difference of like how you can hear like a sound over there versus a sound that's real close, how you can tell the difference between those. So check that out if that's something that interests you. When you flip over to the next page, I'm going to kind of breeze through this just because of time's sake. My phone doesn't have a lot of storage, so I try to get through these as quick as possible. We're going to look at the eye, okay? There's a great video on your PowerPoint about how the eye works. Here's your eyeball. It looks a little bit like this, okay? Essentially, the outer part of your eye, that clear, transparent part, is your cornea. And it essentially allows and focuses the light that's coming in. So it allows the light to get into your eyeball. Now, you know if you've ever seen your eyes, here, let me get close up. You can see I've got a little black pupil in the center and then the brown iris. The brown iris essentially will expand or contract depending on how big the pupils should be. Now, if you are in a lot of light, like it's a really sunny day, you don't want all that light to get into your eye or it will like damage the cells back there. So your pupil will get really, really, really small so that not a lot of light can get through, even though lots of light is still getting through because it's so bright and sunny, but not as much as if your pupil was open. Okay? Then when you go in a dark room, your iris will allow the pupil to expand, and that will allow more light. So that's why when you first walk into a dark room, you can't see anything. It looks like pitch black. But then as you stay in the room, you start to see more and more things. Well, that's because your pupil is letting more light in and your eyes are adjusting to that. Okay? The behind your pupil is the lens. Now the lens is kind of like, I know you guys dissected these in 5th grade and they're super cool. They're like these little marbly looking things that are squished, okay? They can flatten or get more bulbous depending on if it needs to see something far away or close up. Okay, and so there's muscles there that will expand and contract that allow it to be more concave or more convex. Then in the back of your eyeball there is the retina. The retina is like a special layer of tissue that's got tons and tons of special sense cells called rods and cones. And there's like millions of them in the back of your eyeball, okay? And essentially the rods, I believe, are the ones that accept the color, and the cones are the ones that do the shades of black and white, okay? So they essentially they translate what you're seeing and say, oh, look, this mug here's got blue in it. I can see that, and it's telling the rods in my eyeball are communicating that to my brain. Then this really cool little tail coming out of your eyeball, that literally is coming out of your eyeball, okay? It's your not auditory, your optical nerve. And that optical nerve connects up to your brain. And essentially it tells your brain what you're seeing. It gives your brain the image, and then your brain can tell you what you're seeing, okay? There is a picture on page 347 which talks about how our retina has the object flipped, right? And then our brain flips it the right way again.